head was caught in the tamarisk so that he was hanging between heaven and earth, and the mule which was under him went on. Now a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, I saw Absalom hanging in the tamarisk tree. So Joab said to the man who told him, you just saw him? Why do you not strike him there to the ground? I would have given you 10 shekels of silver and a belt. But the man said to Joab, though I would receive 1,000 shekels of silver in my hand, I will not raise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai, saying, beware lest anyone touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise, I would have dealt falsely against my own life. For there is nothing hidden from the king, and you yourself would have set yourself against me. You'd come and kill me. Then Joab said, I cannot linger with you. And he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart while he was still alive in the midst of the tree. And the 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom, struck him, and killed him. So Joab is a mean joker, ain't he? He's violating what the king has said. Now David's going to hear about Absalom's death, and he's going to grieve over his son. Verse 19, then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, let me now run and take the news to the king, how the Lord has avenged him of his enemy. And Joab said, you should not take the news this day, but you should take the news another day. But today you shall take no news, because the king's son is dead. Then Joab said to the Cushite, go and tell the king what you have seen. So the Cushite bowed himself to Joab and ran, and Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, and again to Joab. But whatever happened, please let me also run after the Cushite. So Joab said, why will you run, my son, since you have no ready news? Whatever happened, he said, let me run. So he said, run. And Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and outran the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up on the roof over the gates to the wall, lifted their eyes and looked, and there was a man running alone. Then the watchman cried out and told the king, and the king said, if he's alone, there's news in his mouth. And he came rapidly and drew near. Then the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called the gatekeeper and said, there's another man running alone. The king said, he also brings news. So the watchman said, I think running of the first is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, he is a good man, and he comes with good news. So Ahimaaz called out and said to the king, all is well. Then he bowed down his face to the earth to bless before the king and said, bless the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who raised their hand against my lord the king. And so Ahimaaz said, your enemies are dead now. Then the king said, what about Absalom? Ahimaaz answered, well, when Joab sent the king's servant and me, your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I don't know what it was about. And the king said, turn aside and stand here. So he turned aside and stood still. So then the Cushite came, and the Cushite said, there's good news, my lord the king, for the Lord has avenged you this day of all those against you. And the king said to the Cushite, is the young man Absalom safe? So the Cushite answered, may the enemies of the Lord the king and all who rise against you to do harm be like that young man. Then the king was deeply moved and went up to his chamber over the gate and wept. And he went and said, oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if I only died in your place, oh, my son Absalom. David is grieving over the boy. Because, see, David never disciplined his children. Yeah, he's a pretty boy. All of David's sons and daughters were pretty much pretty and handsome. But he was exceptionally handsome. Kingly looking, stately looking fellow. See, when parents don't discipline their children will bring them sorrow later in their life. He didn't discipline Amnon, who raped Absalom's sister. He didn't discipline Absalom, who killed his brother Amnon. Instead, Told him to get out of the Jerusalem. And the boy went out for 3 years. He finally came back, and then, you know, he's in one of the palaces on the king's property. And David did speak to the boy for 2 years. Not one word to his own son. That boy had built up a lot of resentment toward his daddy. See, the Bible said, train up a child in the way he should go. What's the way he should go? The way he should go, the way of right and wrong. The ways of God. Train up a child. And the Bible says foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. But the rod of correction will drive it far from him. Yeah, I went in a timeout as a kid. My daddy said, time out for this. Drop them. Don't you think listen, I thank God for my parents with my butt. I really do. You know, I'm the man that I am because part of the reason, you know, my parents just didn't, no, they didn't play. My grandmama didn't play. Amen. I mean, the neighborhood didn't play. I don't know about y'all, but my neighbors could whoop my butt. No, yeah, you beg the neighbor not to tell your parents. So David now is grieving over Absalom. In chapter 19, he is invited back to Jerusalem. But being invited back to Jerusalem, he's going to be rebuked by Joab. And Joab Joab was told, behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom, so the victory that day has turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard it that day, and the king is grieved for his son. And the people stole back to the city that day, as the people who were ashamed still away when they were fleeing battle. But the king covered his face and cried out with a loud voice, oh, my son Absalom, oh, my son Absalom. Then Joab came to the house and said, today you disgraced all your servants today who saved your life, and the lives of your sons and your daughters, and the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, in that you love your enemies and hate your friends. For you have declared today that you regard neither prince nor servants. For the day I perceived that Absalom had lived, all of us would have died today. Then that would have pleased you, wouldn't it? Now, therefore arise and go out and speak comfort to the servant. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night. And that will be the worse for you than all the evil that's befallen you from your mouth until now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate and they told the people, saying, there's a king sitting in the gate. So all the people came before the king. Everyone of Israel had fled his tent. Joab said, listen, David, you mourning that boy. These people put their lives on the line for you. You are grieving. You grieving over your enemy. See, Joab don't kill him. This David is grieving over his son. But he's charging David with the spirit of thanklessness. He ain't grateful. And so, David's going to kind of demote Joab. So now when all the people were in dispute throughout the tribes of Israel, saying, the king saved us from the hand of our enemies, he delivered us from the hand of the Philistines, now he is fled from the land because of Absalom, but Absalom whom we anointed over us has died in battle. Now therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing back the king? So King David sent Zag and Abiah to the priest, saying, speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to the house, since the words of all Israel have come to the king, to this very house? You are my brethren, you are my bone, and you are my flesh. Why then are you not the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and flesh, God do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of the army before me continually in the place of Joab. Now, Joab ain't going to forget this. David done practically fired him from being the commander. So Mesa is David's nephew, according to chapter 17, verse 25. And so Joab ain't going to like this. So he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah, just as the heart of one man. So they went out, they sent this word to the king, return, you and all your servants. And the king returned and came to the Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to meet the king, to escort the king across the Jordan. And Shimei, the son of Gera, Benjamite, who was from Bacurim, heard and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And there was 1,000 men of Benjamin who were with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and 20 servants with him. And they went out over the Jordan before the king. Then the ferry boat went across to carry over the king's household and to do what he thought was good. He's invited back now to Jerusalem. And he's escorted over the Jordan River. But one thing about David is he's not a vengeful person. He's showing mercy to his enemies. He's bringing back the servants of Saul. Ziba. Isn't that something? Now Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king, and when he had crossed to the Jordan, then he said to the king, do not let my lord impute iniquity to me, or remember what wrong your servant did on the day that my lord the king left Jerusalem, that the king should take it to heart. For I, your servant, know that I have sinned. Therefore, here am I. The first should come today with all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered and said, shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, what do I have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should be adversaries to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Israel? For do I not know that today I am king of Israel? Therefore the king said to Shimei, you shall not die. And the king swore to him. Wow. David was gracious to his enemies. He should have died. He wanted him cussing, throwing rocks. You know something? And then David was going to be good to Mephibosheth again. Now Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king. He had not cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he returned. He was a stinking something other, wasn't he? He ain't washed his feet, his toes, or nothing. Oh, have mercy. Since the day the king departed, you know what? He had nobody to care for him. Because Mephibosheth was a cripple. Mephibosheth needed someone to help him. And this tells me he didn't have anybody to help him. So when he had come to Jerusalem to meet the king, the king said, why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth? He answered, my lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go to the king, because your servant is lame. And he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like the angel of God. Therefore do what is good in your eyes. For all of my father's house were dead, but the men before my lord the king. Yet you set your servant among those who eat at your own table. Therefore do what is right, for I still cry out. Right. I still cry out anymore to the king. So the king said, why do you speak any more of your matters? I have said, you and Ziba divide the land. Then Mephibosheth said to the king, rather let me take it all, insomuch as my lord the king has come back in peace to his own land. See, David going to be good to Mephibosheth. This is a classic teaching of Jesus. Love your enemies. Be good. That's right. Be good to those who what? Spitefully use you. See, sometimes your enemy will hurt you. And David was good to Mephibosheth. He asked, was any King Saul's descendants alive? Son of Jonathan, any of Jonathan's children alive? Yeah, that one. Yeah, down in Lodabar. Who is it? Mephibosheth. He was a cripple. Bring him up. Put him on the road. Sit him at the king's table. So every time the king ate, he ate the same food the king ate. Then, yes.
So technically, Mephibosheth was the son of Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay.
He was Jonathan's son. The son.
The son of Saul.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, you know, the word son, Benay, can mean descendant. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you read in the Bible, son of, sometimes it can mean descendant of. It could be talking about the grandson. Okay? And so that's why you don't have a strict genealogy in the Bible, because it may skip generations, even though it might say the son of. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. 31. And Barzillai the Gilead came down from Rogelim and went across the Jordan with the king to escort him across the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old. And he had provided the king with supplies while he stayed at Maconiah. But he was a very rich man. The king said to Barzillai, come across with me, and I will provide for you while you're with me in Jerusalem. But Barzillai the king said, how long have I to live that I should go with the king to Jerusalem? I'm 80 years old. Can I discern between good and bad? Can your servant taste what I eat and what I drink? Can I hear any longer the voice of the singing of the men and the singing of the women? Why then should your servant be a further burden to the Lord your king, my king? Your servant will go a little way across the Jordan with the king. And why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant turn back again, that I may die in my own city, near the grave of my father and the grave of my mother. But here's your servant, Chimham. Let him cross with my lord the king, and do for him what seems good to you. And the king answered, Chimham shall cross with me, and I will do for him what seems good to you. Therefore, now whatever you request of me, I will do for you. Then all the people went over the Jordan, and when the king had crossed over, he kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and returned to his own place. See, David knew how to be good to folk that are good to him. Barzillai said, I don't want to be no burden to you. You don't have the same quite taste of food that I have. See, I can't hear like I used to. I ain't young, I'm 80 years old today. And I'm near the grave. So just let me go on back to my hometown, and I can be buried in my father and my mother. But if you want to be good to me, show some kindness to my servant here. See, Barzillai is always a man who's not thinking about himself. He's thinking about others. And his household, and all of David's men with him across the Jordan. So all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is a close relative of ours. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have we eaten at the king's expense, or has he given us any gifts? And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 shares in the king. Therefore, we also have more rights to David than you. Why then do you despise us? We were not the first to advise bringing back our king. Yet the words of the men of Israel were fiercer than the words of the men of Judah were fiercer words of the men of Israel. It's a lot of bitterness, division. Civil war is almost going to break out. Somebody has got to help put this together. But it's going to start. And it's sad when God's people fight. And then groups get divided within the church. And the church wind up destroying themselves as a result of it. See? And so, civil war going to get started again. And there happened to be there a rebel whose name was Sheba. Okay? The son of Bichri, a Benjamite. Now you see the word rebel there? It could also mean a scoundrel, a worthless person. Now, what is a scoundrel, a worthless person in this context? Is a person always starting some mess. He always starts some mess. You know, the Bible tells you to watch out for people in the church that start messing it. You know what the Bible said about them folks? It said, mark them out and don't eat with them. And don't invite them over to your house, don't go to their house. Because I'm going to tell you something, sometimes people can be very persuasive with their mess. So Sheba going to blow the trumpet. And he said, we have no share in David, nor do we have the heritage of the sons of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So every man of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah from the Jordan as far as Jerusalem remained loyal to their king. We ain't got no inheritance. Yes, you do. Judah is one of the tribes of Israel. You see, what he's doing here is he's striking some emotional anger. Hey, David was kidding about y'all. Why y'all loyal to David? Huh? The men of Judah, they loyal to David. Why y'all loyal to him? He ain't loyal to you. That's what scoundrels do. They wait to pick a fight. And Michael Jackson always want to be starting something. Now David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in seclusion and supported them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. And the king said to Amasa, assemble the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and present here yourself. So Amasa went to the assembly of the men of Judah, but he delayed longer than the set time which David had appointed him. David said to Abishai, now Sheba, the son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servant and pursue him, lest he find himself fortified cities and escape. So Joab's men with the Cherulites and the Pelatites and all the mighty men went out after him. And they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. And when they were at the large stone which is in Gibeah, Amasa came before them, and Joab was dressed in battle array, had his battle gear on, had his belt on with a sword fastened in it, and the sheath at his hip, and as he was going forward, it fell out. Then Joab said to Amasa, are you in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword that was in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it in the stomach, and all his insides poured out on the ground, and it did not strike him again. Thus he died. Joab was a real scoundrel. See, Joab don't want to be under command of Amasa. Joab used to power. And ladies and gentlemen, the people that want power don't need power. So if they got it, they're going to misuse it. Joab is making sure now he get back in there. Be the head of the army. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, the son of Bichri. Meanwhile, one of Joab's men stood near Amasa and said, whoever favors Joab, whoever is for David, follow Joab. But Amasa wallowed in his blood in the middle of the highway. When the men saw that all the people stood still, he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him. And then he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. And when he was removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. And he went through all the tribes of Israel, and Abel, and Beth Maacah, and all the Berites. So they gathered together and also went after Sheba. I mean, Sheba's on the run, ain't he? Then they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Maacah, and they cast a siege mound against the city. And it stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. So what they would do, ladies and gentlemen, called a battering ram. What they would do when they want to conquer a city, they had a thick wall. What they would take dirt and trash out, they would throw it up against the wall, and they would build a mound. Then they bring the battering rams and make them mad. They hit the wall, they keep hitting the wall until the wall come tumbling down, and that exposed the city. And so when the battering rams hit the walls of the city, and then a wise man cried out, verse 16 and 16, Here, please say to Joab, come nearby, let me speak with you. And when he had come near to her, the woman said, Are you Joab? He said, I am. Then she said to him, Hear the words of your maidservant. And he answered, I'm listening. And so she spoke, saying, They used to talk in former times, saying, They shall surely seek God as at Abel. And so they would end disputes. I am among peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother of Israel. Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab said, Far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. This is not so. But a man from the mountains of Ephraim named Sheba, the son of Bichri, by name, raised his hand against the king, against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. So the woman said to Joab, Watch, his head will be thrown over the wall. Then the woman in her wisdom went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. Then he blew a trumpet, and they withdrew from the city, every man to his tent. So Joab returned to the king at Jerusalem. The wise woman spared the city, didn't she? David said, Joab said, just give me Sheba. You know, just give me a few minutes, and just stay right here, and we'll throw his head over the wall. And that's exactly what she did. Lord have mercy. Now, here's the thing. It's very possible and highly probable that this woman killed Sheba. Okay. Cut his head off. Yeah. Text his day, but highly probable. Because see, a man would rather jump off a high wall and kill himself than to die by the hand of a woman. That was the ultimate sign of humiliation and disrespect in that culture for a woman to kill you. That would be like a woman knocking out George Foreman. Everybody still be talking about that today, wouldn't it? Man, that woman hit George Foreman so hard, and bam! But that's what happened. And then David going to name his officers in verses 23 to 26. And notice, he named Zadok and Abiathar the priests. It's very significant. They're going to play a prominent role here later on. David going to avenge the Gibeonites. Okay. Now, there was a famine in the days of David 3 years. Year after year, David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered. It is because of Saul and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites. So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now, the Gibeonites were not the children of Israel, but the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn protection to them. But Saul sought to kill them in his zeal for the children of Israel and Judah. Notice now, even though they're of Amorites, they entered into an agreement. And God said, you got to honor that agreement. Right? But Saul had them killed. Therefore David said to the Gibeonites, what should I do for you? And with what shall I make atonement that we may bless the inheritance of the Lord? And the Gibeonites said, we will have no silver or gold from Saul or from his house, nor shall you kill any man in Israel for us. So he said, whatever you say, I will do for you. Then he answered the king, and as for the man who consumed us and plotted against us, that we should be destroyed from the remaining of any of the territories of Israel, let 70 men of his descendants be delivered to us, and we will hang them before the Lord in Gibeah of Saul, whom the Lord chooseth. And the king said, I will give them. But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the Lord's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. So the king took Ammoni and Mephibosheth, the two sons of Repa, the daughter of Ai, whom she bore Saul, and the 5 sons of Micah, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up from Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Mahalathite. He delivered them to the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them on the hill before the Lord. And so they fell, all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of the harvest, in the first day of the harvest, beginning of barley harvest, which should have been a time of great celebration. See, great celebration. But one of the things here, that we see going on is that we are seeing something that the scripture, even though God didn't say anything in this particular text about it, the sins of the fathers should not be passed on to the sons. But that seems to be what happened right here. But maybe they've been complicit for herself on the rock in the beginning of the harvest, of the late rains poured on them from heaven. She did not allow the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And David was told that Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done, and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan, his son, from the men of Jabesh Gilead, who stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them up after the Philistines had struck down Saul and Gibeah. So he brought up the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan, his son, from there, and fought against the Philistines, and David grew faint. But Ishbi Benob, don't name your child that, who was one of the sons of the giant, who weighed bronze spear was 300 shekels, who was bearing a new sword, thought he could kill David, but Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid and struck the Philistine and killed him. Abishai liked to just cut people up. You know, he was going to cut Saul up, wasn't he? Then the men of David swore to him, saying, you should go out no more with us to battle, lest you quench the lamp of Israel. So We're talking about Goliath, 3 of his brothers. And then David going to compose a song. In chapter 22, he's praising God for deliverance. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my strength, in whom I trust, my shield and the horn of my salvation. We talk about his protection. And David says, I will call upon the Lord, verse 4, who is worthy to be bragged about. The word praise that means to be bragged about. And he talks about his mighty men. Then chapter 24, Lord have mercy. David going to number the people. And the anger aroused against Israel, the Lord. He moved David against him, saying, go number Israel and Judah. So the king said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, now go through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, from the northern portion all the way down to the southern portion, and count the people, that I may know the number of the people. And Joab said to the king, now may the Lord your God add to the people 100 times more than they are, and may the eyes of my Lord the king see it. But why army? See? And notice when you turn to First Chronicles, turn to First Chronicles chapter 21 for a second. Okay. Then we're going to go because our time is gone. You're going to really see what happens. 21. God did not want David to depend on the army, but to depend on the Lord. And so God's going to send the prophet, Gad. Go and tell David, verse 11 of 2 Samuel 24. Thus says the Lord, I will offer you 3 things. Choose one of them for yourself, that I may do it for you. So Gad came to David and told him and said, shall 7 years of famine come upon the land? Or shall you flee 3 months before your enemies while they pursue? Or shall there be 3 days plague in the land? Now consider and see what his mercies are great. But please don't let me fall in the hand of man. The Lord will be more gracious to me than man will. Whatever you do, Lord, just don't let me fall in the hand of man. They'll go beyond what's needed and what's required. And some pastors are fell into the hands of congregational members and lost the house, lost the car, lost the job, lost their retirement, lost everything. When we fall in the hands of the Lord, He'll have some mercy on you. Yeah, you might lose your church, but you'll still have your life. You'll still have your livelihood. Don't let me fall in the hands. Whatever you do, don't let me fall in the hands of man. Man ain't as forgiving as God is. They hold grudges. They'll hold information and use it at your time of weakness. Don't let me fall in the hands of man. Whatever you do. Now, that's my prayer for me, Lord. Being Christian. I remember, as I leave, I remember talking with a former pastor, white pastor of a large church here in Macon, not maybe white, so don't try to figure that out. They got money, and he told me, I hadn't asked him for it, he just said to me, he said, Don Reed, he says, you know, I'm going to the work for the state convention in Duluth. It was in Atlanta then. I said, you are? I said, yeah, I'm going. I'm leaving the church. Oh, okay. I said, man, why are you leaving? If you don't mind my asking. He said, because Christians can be some of the meanest folk. And every time I come to this path, I think about that. Had this guy fallen into the hands of men, he wouldn't have had his church, nor an income. But because he fell into the hands of the Lord, he had somewhere to go.